Thank you, and please be seated. It's my pleasure to introduce Morag Dahlstrom, who will start our ceremony off with a welcome and introductions. Morag?
Good afternoon, and welcome to our Nursing Recognition Ceremony. This ceremony cannot take place without the support from CSM's leadership and our county partners. We have some special guests with us today in the audience, and I'd like to recognize them. The first one is the Vice Chair of the Board of Trustees, is Dorothea Smith. We also have the President of the College of Southern Maryland, Dr. Brad Gottfried, here with us. And we have several of our vice presidents, including Dr. Bill Comey, Dr. Richard Fleming, Dr. Tony Jurgen, Michelle Goodwin, and Dr. Sue Subak. If you would please stand too. Many times, I don't think that we recognize or appreciate the number of people involved in providing your nursing education. Just to give you an idea, our nursing students this semester were placed in 6 different acute care facilities, 5 long-term care facilities, and numerous community agencies, including public and private schools, health departments, hospice, Head Start programs, boys and girls clubs, senior centers, physicians' offices, home health agencies, day treatment centers, just for their clinical experiences. If there's any of those people from different healthcare agencies here, would you please stand and be recognized? We have 2 more groups that are really important. The first one is important to recognize our faculty that teach all the prerequisite courses of biology, math, English, and to all of our nursing students to get them ready for their foundation to come into nursing. But our second group is the nursing faculty here at CSM. I did a rough calculation, and I believe that we have a group of nursing faculty that has over 350 years of experience and expertise. I would say you've been taught by some really awesome role models. With the nursing faculty, please stand and be recognized. Students, you have one final group to recognize. All the guests that are here in this audience are here to celebrate with you. The audience is composed of all your special friends, people, support people, your family members, your loved ones who have helped you through the past several years. They have traveled this journey with you, the past 2 years especially. They are the ones who have seen your faces behind books as you studied for exams, wrote papers, prepared group projects. They are also the ones who picked up so many of those household responsibilities. They shared your successes. So graduates, would you please stand and give a round of applause to everybody who has supported you. The remainder of this program is all about you. Live by your slogan, which is, and don't forget when you leave why you came. Just as this is the introduction, the beginning of your nursing recognition program, this too is the beginning of your career as a nurse. Never forget why you wanted to become a nurse. Never forget that this is only the beginning of your life as a nurse. Congratulations.
Thank you, Morag. I guess I should tell you also that the people who sit on this podium are people that are chosen by the nursing class as the people that they wanted to pin them or introduce the nursing pin. So it's my pleasure to also introduce those who share the stage with me. Annette Ragland, Kathy Parsons, Rose Miller, Linda Goodman, Linda Davis, Sarah Cano, Morag Dahlstrom, Jan Bonham, our guest speaker, Kelly Mattingly, Tabby Crowell, and Dr. Karen Russell. And I'm Ellen Bertelson. I'm your Master of Ceremonies for today and one of their teachers. Well, we talk about this being the nursing recognition ceremony, but we fondly refer to it as our pinning ceremony because this is where the students get their pins. So I'd like to bring Jan Bottom up and have her discuss the history and the significance of the nursing pin. Jan?
Good afternoon. I think one reason the students choose me for this periodically is because of my New England accent. And they love to hear me say, park the car in the Harvard yard. So, without further ado, whenever a nurse refers to his or her pin, it almost always refers to the nursing pin from their respective schools. The phrase is usually said with pride and possessiveness. Judy Popst, a former colleague and dear friend, once told me, "The first nursing pin you earn from your particular program always means the most." I fully concur with her. Over the years, you will work, and very hard, to achieve other awards and degrees, but this first pin from CSM, where you committed yourself to caring for others, where you discovered and formulated your philosophy of nursing, and where you forged a path that will carry you in very good stead into the future, will mean the most to you. The nursing pin is a 1,000-year-old symbol of service to others. Its ancestors include the Maltese Cross, the emblems worn by the Guilds, the gold and silver medals given to nurses to symbolize professional achievement, and the hospital badge of over a century of years ago. The Maltese Cross was the symbol of the crusading knight. During the Crusades, many men became nurses and joined military orders which treated the sick and wounded. These knights wore black tunics and with no armor, they didn't carry armor, and had no weapons. They wore the white Maltese cross, which had 8 points, and the 8 points referred to the Beatitudes, around their necks. This sort of reminds me of the medics of the military of today. In medieval Europe, organizations called guilds appeared. These guilds were responsible for much of the national training at the time. Apprenticeships and internships were provided. Emblems worn by the guilds members indicated to which guild they belonged. Inherent was a symbol were the concepts of exclusivity, prestige, fidelity, training, and standards. The Barber's Guild assisted the physician with surgical procedures, and the midwives delivered babies. So the guild emblems also indicated service to the communities. In 1855, Queen Victoria awarded Florence Nightingale a beautiful emblem of a brooch of enamel and gold for her work during the Crimean War. The design resembled a military badge rather than a pin such as we know it today. In the late 19th century, many hospitals adopted Miss Nightingale's standards and practices and started education and training for nurses. For nurses who excelled, gold or silver medals were awarded. Gradually, all the programs of nursing started awarding pins to nurses in their programs. The purpose was to identify nurses as educated women who served the health needs of society, held Christian values, and were loyal to their country. The earliest known U.S. school of nursing pin was from the Bellevue Hospital Nursing in New York City. The pin was designed by Tiffany's, which we know is a wonderful jeweler, and it was given in 1880. 7 years after that, several other schools started adopting the practice of handing out pins to especially deserving people. Not everyone received one. The pin was the earliest visible signs of evolving movement toward legislation of nursing practice. It was not until 1903 that the first 4 states passed nursing registration legislation. So we have been around as having registration for over 100 years. Nursing education has moved from the hospital diploma programs to BSN and ADN college-based curriculums. Symbols of each unique school of nursing are etched on the program pins. None are alike, and all are cherished by the generation of the nurses who have earned these awards. There are many present nurses today who have earned the CCC pin, Kathy Parsons being one and Tabby being another. And also, you did too. I didn't realize that. Another one that earned the original, and back then they used to call it CCCC, Chuck U University. Anybody ever hear that expression? Well, that's what we were called. And now there are newer people that are with us as faculty who have the new CSM pin, such as you will receive. The rich history and symbolism of the nursing pin is something which we can truly be proud. Dr. Dorothy Lanigan summarized it best in a speech that she made to a graduating class some years ago. Above all, the pin symbolizes readiness for professional practice. We, the faculty and staff, have assisted in your preparation to the best of our abilities. We believe we have prepared you well. You are the new generation of nurses, and to you will fall the profession in meeting society's healthcare needs and in bringing the profession to greater levels of excellence. The pin symbolizes that you are ready for this challenge. We at CSM echo those sentiments and are very proud of all of you that will be accepting your pin today. Thank you for attending CSM, and we want to welcome you as colleagues. Thank you.
Thank you, Jan. One of the other things that the students do, and while we're talking about this, let me introduce the students to you who were instrumental in putting this ceremony together for this year. If you would please stand when I read your name. Ben Bates, Cheryl Byram, Amanda Foster, Brandy Goodrich, who was also did the slideshow for us today, Amanda Johnson, Casey Morris, and Danielle Thomas. These ladies and gentlemen were the committee that put this all together today. Thank you very much. One of the other things that the students do is that they nominate people who have inspired them in some way or touched them in some way or been a role model for them in some way to be the speaker for them for this day, because they just want to have somebody who represents what they see in nursing. It's my pleasure today to introduce Kelly Mattingly, who is a staff nurse at Calvert Memorial Hospital. Kelly graduated from Norfolk State University in 1992 with an Associates of Arts degree and has been a nurse for 22 years. The majority of her nursing career has been practicing almost exclusively at Calvert Memorial Hospital. In med-surg for 2 years, see there's your lesson, go to med-surg first, then transitioning 20 years ago to obstetrics, where she works all areas, labor and delivery, the OB PACU, newborn nursery, and mother-baby. She's certified in the specialty field of inpatient obstetrics and has also maintained her clinical ladder status as a clinical nurse specialist 3. She's also worked in labor and delivery at Southern Maryland Hospital, as well as doing maternal infant home visits for a home health agency. And I did home health for a while, Kelly. That's the most fun. Kelly's an active member of the interview committee for new hires to the Family Birth Center, where she also precepts and trains nurses who are new to that specialty area. She's actively involved in the hospital's move toward promoting exclusive breastfeeding for babies as a health benefit for all moms and babies, developing policies for this and getting this initiative off the ground. She's a resource nurse on a weekly basis to ensure proper staffing is met for unit census excuse me, and participates in quality improvement through chart reviews to make sure proper documentation is met. For 5 years, she was the interviewer for the IPOP committee, which is the Improved Pregnancy Outcome Program, and collaborated with a team through interviews of moms about their healthcare experience and chart reviews to assess if the healthcare systems in place did everything possible to prevent a preterm birth or a poor outcome. Interestingly enough, Kelly didn't always aspire to be a nurse. In high school, her career goal was to become an accountant. This is so much more fun. Then she took a career aptitude test, which showed that she would be well suited for nursing. Since she hadn't given any thought to that career choice, she assessed her personality traits and life interests and figured she'd give it a whirl. Her time in healthcare started as a CNA at Charlotte Hall Veterans Home in 1987. She loved the job, working and interacting with elderly people, and then decided to pursue a career in the medical field as a nurse, which started the journey to where she is now. When I asked her to tell me something about herself, she said, "Oh, I recently got engaged." Her fiancé has 2 adopted boys, 13 and 15. Kelly has a daughter who is 18, who is a senior at Chaptacon High School and will be attending Towson University in the fall to pursue nursing, following in her mother's footsteps. It is my pleasure to introduce Kelly Mattingly.
Thank you, everyone. Good afternoon, and congratulations to the class of 2014 graduate nurses. Let's give them all a round of applause again. Thank you to all the family, friends, professors, and clinical coordinators that have attended in support of this celebration. They could not have made it through such a rigorous program without you. Ladies and gentlemen, you have all had the experience of nursing this last 2 years because you've nursed each other through this program, making a lot of great friendships along the way. You've seen each other at your worst and at your best. You've laughed together, you've cried together. You've put time and effort into group study, independent study, and yes, even meeting for margaritas at Mexico or salsaritas to discuss how in the heck you're going to make it through the next exam. But you did it. It is a privilege and an honor to stand before you to speak about this wonderful career of nursing that has embellished my life and will yours too in so many ways. I hope to leave you with some knowledge, wisdom, insight, and inspiration with stories of my experience as you go forward into your profession as a new nurse. They say laughter is the best medicine, so let's break the ice. I'll need your participation. Knock, knock. HIPAA. I can't tell you. As I stand before you, I see the reflection of me in your eyes, remembering my pinning ceremony, the excitement of graduating and being pinned, but also the underlying anxiety of having to climb 2 more hurdles, and that's passing the NCLEX and obtaining employment. The only difference is I had to wear white pantyhose with a starched, itchy uniform and some corny white hat to my ceremony. You all look a lot more trendy. Whoever came up with the idea of that hat must have lost their marbles. I mean, do you know how much Aquanet and hairspray and bobby pins it took to keep those jokers on? So glad it was just for looks for the ceremony because I could not imagine going to work today, bending over a sterile field, having my hat fall over it, the doctor yelling at me, and then my patient ends up getting treated for some infection from an organism that was growing on my hat now has landed in their open body cavity. So long to starchy whites and hats, sorry Bonnie McGuffin, and hello to colored scrubs that are pajama comfortable to work in. I know you have a theme for this graduating class that says, when you leave, don't forget why you came. Why did we come? We came because we are individuals of compassion. We have a desire to help and make a difference in people's lives. Nursing is a career path filled with new challenges, struggles, and joys every day. As a nurse, we get to assist in bringing babies into this world, help people recover from serious illnesses, and comfort loved ones when a patient dies. This is a very stressful job with long, intense hours, but the rewards far outweigh. No one can feel except you, your heart's fulfillment at the end of a shift when you know you being there made all the difference in the world to someone. You want to be a great nurse? Greatness in this world is not defined either by fame or fortune, but it is determined by service. What an awesome job to have where you have the ability to serve your community every single day. Service means that sometimes we have to give up some weekends, miss family gatherings to celebrate holidays on another day, just to take care of others. Service means you've put 3 Foley catheters in patients to empty their bladders, and 10 hours later, your eyeballs are yellow, you're looking a little jaundiced because you haven't emptied your own. Service is the call to duty when you've just sat down to eat that yummy, crisp-looking salad for lunch at the nurse's station. And the doctor walks in to do a procedure, and you put down your fork to go assist with the patient. On the way back to your lunch, your phone goes off and another patient is calling. You attend to them. The call light is now ringing, and you have to answer a family member's questions. The doctor calls and wants lab results and to give you orders on a patient. Your blood sugar is falling. You feel hypoglycemic, and 2 hours later, you make it back to your sad, soggy, wilted salad that even the children in Ethiopia wouldn't entertain eating. The cafeteria is closed. You're asking your fellow nurses for some type of chocolate, cookie, cracker, anything to sustain you until dinner if you get to eat then. That's not only service, but that's sacrifice. And that is the reality some days. But like Bob Marley says, every little thing's going to be all right. You have entered such a diverse profession where you can practice in a variety of fields where your talents and interests may lie. Psychiatry for the avid listeners, ER and trauma for those adrenaline junkies, pediatrics and obstetrics for those kid-friendly nurturers, OR for those who like seeing the anatomy from the inside out, and the list goes on. The ability to self-schedule, work 8 hours, 12 hours, full-time, part-time, as needed, and then the dreaded overtime, which is sure helpful when you're planning that vacation you need to take to decompress and have your legs massaged from walking on those comfortable concrete floors, or even your back massaged from lifting those bariatric patients. Plan on doing some self-preservation. Some of you may have already been working in the medical field in some capacity or another. For others, this will be a new experience. It doesn't matter. You all will be starting off as green new nurses. Do not set yourself up to fail by placing unrealistic and high demands on yourself. You are not expected to know it all or have all the answers for your patients, as I once thought. This is on-the-job training. Embrace the fact that it is a learning curve from a graduate nurse to a registered nurse. Sometimes as nurses, we tend to be people pleasers, rule followers, and go along with the program type of people. Until we become seasoned, we don't feel we have the knowledge or ability to speak up and be assertive when we feel or see something being done wrong. Not true. And don't let this be you. Speak up, speak out. Ask questions to your preceptor. Don't feel dumb in doing so. After all, you don't know what you don't know, so find it out. You'll only be under his or her wing for so long, and then you'll be flying on your own. Be a sponge and soak up all the experience you can. Offer to watch a procedure, and when you feel comfortable, you perform that procedure. Be proactive. Have a willingness to learn and wantingness to learn. All you can while you have a safety net alongside of you, guiding you in the proper direction. As a preceptor of many nurses, the ones I find the easiest to train are the enthusiastic ones, the ones willing to learn and asking bunches of questions and seeking out opportunities for hands-on care. I welcome the opportunity because it challenges me as a nurse to be on top of my A game. Frankly, there's been many questions thrown at me over the years, and even being a nurse of 22 years, I don't know the answer to, but I go to my unit references and find them, because we can't store everything in the hard drive. Ask your questions over and over. Write it down on a notepad that you carry. Do the procedure over and over until it sticks, then move on. Okay, now's the time of truce. I'll tell you a little story about myself. I kind of hesitate, but it's a little embarrassing, but just when you think that you shouldn't ask that question, or it may be stupid, or maybe I should know that. About 5 years ago, which would make me nursing 17 years, Dr. Estes asked me to get a blue prescription pad out of the Pyxis for her. And I said, okay. So I looked at her and I said, what's the difference? And she said, the difference is the blue prescription pad has a big red C on it. And I said, meaning? And she said, a controlled substance? You know, the one to write out narcotics. And I said, oh, and I started laughing at myself that after all these years, I didn't know, I had never paid attention, and my response was, well, I guess we do learn something new every day. And she goes, yes, we do, and she laughed right along with me. More changes have occurred in my last 2 years of nursing than I can recall in my entire year. It seems as if more duties are added and not taken away. We do the same amount of work with less nurses now, and sometimes with a skeletal crew. Everything is computerized with different passwords to remember. We are continually learning new things on a weekly basis. So ladies and gentlemen, when you get in this field, think long and hard before you call out for your shift for less than ideal reasons, because your patients and your coworkers are depending on you. I want you to take pride and accountability of who you are and the importance of what you do, because teamwork is key. Now, I know you guys have all heard the saying, don't sweat the small stuff. But I'm telling you, a good nurse sweats the small stuff. It's the little things that you do for a patient that means the most. How they are greeted, how they are treated, the eye contact, the willingness to listen, that gentle touch, those little cup of ice chips when their mouth is parched, and that toasty warm blanket when they are cold. All these things mean a lot and make a difference on whether their experience was a pleasant one or not. Sure, you need to know what their BUN and creatinine levels are, but sometimes to a patient, big hairy ho-ho. It's the respect, dignity, privacy, and kindness that you treat them with that means the most. It's how you deliver and discuss that plan of care with them when the results are not optimal or what they want to hear. But that you're there for them, showing empathy and sympathy as if it was one of your own family members sitting in that bed. A simple hug, a smile, a touch goes a long way in helping someone to heal or deal with unexpected news. In closing, I'd like to share a story with you about myself. If you think that being a new nurse can't make a difference, I'm telling you it can, and it will. It was the year of 1993. I had only been a nurse for 1 year, and I had the privilege of taking care of a 63-year-old beautiful young woman diagnosed with 4-stage ovarian cancer, who I'll refer to as Mrs. Smith for HIPAA's sake. I entered her room to do my assessment, and she was frantically looking through her bedside table for something. I noticed she had tears in her eyes. I asked her what was wrong and if I could help her look for anything. She said, I just put my makeup on my face and came back from the bathroom, and it was gone. I helped her look through her belongings, and no luck finding her makeup. I could see she was frazzled, not knowing where her makeup was. Next, she said, who would have taken it? And I said, I don't know. However, I asked her if there was a private room available, would she feel more comfortable staying there? And she said yes. I arranged to have her moved across the hall to a private room. She was very appreciative and she felt safe. The next day I returned from my night shift and I had her on my team. She was on a morphine drip for pain, and after my assessment, I began talking to her about death and dying and asked her what her thoughts and feelings were about it. I had recently taken a class from the College of Southern Maryland about this subject, learning everything from bride burning in India to euthanasia. Dr. Kevorkian was hot in the news at this time in relationship to euthanasia, and I asked her about her feelings on this. She looked at me and said, sit down, young lady. Thank you for asking me. No one has ever sat down and asked about my feelings on death and dying. She went on to tell me about her beliefs of Scientology, how she wanted to be cremated. She did not want to have a funeral, but a memorial service. She shared stories about her husband and 2 adopted daughters and how she felt her daughters were just waiting for her to die so they could have all of her jewelry. She told me to sit down beside her, and she touched my hand and said, talking to you is like talking to a daughter I never had. I wish I only had a daughter like you, and I see why you became a nurse. I listened, probably blushed a little, and thanked her for her kind words. She turned to me and said, I want to give you my wedding ring that my husband gave me 26 years ago. And I said, oh, that's very nice, but I can't accept that. And she persisted and said, yes, you can. And by the way, don't think I'm talking out of my mind because I'm on a morphine drip. I know exactly what I'm saying. I just smiled and said, thank you for thinking so fondly of me. And I left the room overwhelmed, overjoyed, happy about how much of an impact I had made in such a short time with this patient just by listening and asking questions about her. She felt valued, and so did I. 3 weeks later, I came on shift and received a call that I had a visitor downstairs and that I needed to come to the ER entrance outside to meet them. Having no idea who this was, I walked outside, and there was Mrs. Smith with her husband. He approached me and said, my wife has done nothing but talk about you since she has left the hospital, and she wants you to have this. He gave me a brown leather pouch with her 1-carat Tiffany cut diamond ring in it. He said, "This is what my wife wants. This is what makes her happy, and I support her decision." Again, I said, "I appreciate this so much, but I cannot accept this ring. I was more than happy to take care of your wife. She's such a lovely person, but I cannot receive any gifts for that." Mrs. Smith looked at me and said, "You can and you will. I have already had legal papers drawn up from my lawyers, and here is the ring and appraisal papers from Bailey, Banks, and Biddle." It was a $5,000 ring. Over the next year, she was hospitalized again on another floor. I'd go up and visit her, bring her cookies, and we'd just sit and chat. Within that year, she died, and her husband ended up befriending me. He said, "You just remind me so much of my wife, and she was really fond of you." Approximately 6 years ago, her husband died, and it was me who was left with their crematory remains to disperse together in a pre-selected designated area. I have replayed this story over and over in my mind, asking myself, what did I do that was so great? And it wasn't what I did, it was how I made her feel. It was what we all possess as nurses, and that's compassion. For this is why we came, and this is what we need not forget when we leave, how important we are in making a difference in someone else's life. My prayer is for you all to pass your NCLEX and obtain gainful employment and be the best nurse you can be. You are the backbone of the institution. You spend more time with the patient than anyone does. You are a patient advocate, and you will be armed with the knowledge and the know-how over time. Nursing has become such high-tech, low-touch in recent years. Let's make it a point to bring nursing back to the bedside with the patient where we truly belong. Thank you.
Thank you, Kelly, for those inspiring words. Before we get our students up here to get their pins, I wanted to take a minute and introduce Dr. John Roach, who's on Board of Trustees. You don't get to sneak in on the side. Anyway, nice to have you here. Thank you. Tabby Crowell is one of our nursing instructors who's been selected by our students to read the names of the candidates who will be receiving their pins today. So if the candidates would start lining up, and we will have our other instructors who have been selected pin them. Tabby?
While the candidates are coming forward, family members, please feel free to come down and take pictures. Benjamin Bates. Brittany Aaron Bowen. Rachel Ponthe Brandt. While Rachel's being pinned, I'd like to let you know that last night she received the Academic Achievement Award in Nursing for having the highest GPA in the class. Cheryl Lonnie Byram. Ariana Helene Case. Kimberly Nicole De La Paz. Kaylin Marie Dietz. Amanda Michelle Foster. Shauna Marie Gardner. Latina Joanne Gaskins. Nicole Ann Goldman. Brandy Nicole Goodrich. Amanda Elizabeth Johnson. Angela Hill Jones. Ashley Marie Jones. While Ashley's being pinned, I'd like to let you know that last night she achieved the Achievement in Nursing Award, and that is for overall clinical practice and community service. And Ashley is also the District 9 Student of the Year, voted by the Maryland Nurses Association. Fritz Kazina. Tessa Victoria Moeller. Casey Elizabeth Morris. Crystal Norris. Tara Nicole Radel. Michelle Christina Reagan. Amber May Roberts. Rebecca Leanne Shaw. Madison Ryan Shelton. Danielle Nicole Thomas. Oh, come on. Mary Margaret White. Why don't we give all of them another round of applause?
Come on, Mary, shake a leg. I just wanted all of these newly pinned nursing graduates to stand for just a minute. This is the future of our healthcare. Well done. Thank you very much. Please be seated. The nursing students as a class also nominate several of their peers and then choose to see who they want to have represent them in terms of how they feel about their nursing, how they feel about their program, how they feel about all the things that they've experienced through this nursing program. And I think it's amazing, too. One of the things we see is that a lot of the students, this is not a first career for them. So for those of you who are graduating, how many of you that this is a second career or maybe a third career? Okay, quite a few. And how many of you are have children? That's amazing to me, because I went through nursing school with kids and working, and that's a whole lot. And how many of you work as well as go to school and have kids? Yeah. It's just amazing to me. I'm really pleased to introduce Fritz Kazina, who's been selected by the nursing students as a group to represent them. Fritz is one of those also who, this is his third career, as a matter of fact. He had a career in construction, he's had a career as a personal trainer, and now he's entering the field of nursing. Fritz is married, has 4 kids, 3 daughters and a son. He also came into nursing because he felt that this was a personal calling that he had related to experiences that he had had himself in healthcare, as well as some experiences that his family has had, and he wanted to be able to make a difference. And one of our instructors in the past has said, one person can make a difference. I'm pleased to introduce Fritz Kazina. Fritz?
Thank you. Well, we made it. Whew. Glad to see so many nurses here today. I think I've just thrown about 3 PVCs and I'm feeling a little bit tachycardic. For all of you that don't understand what I just said, that was nurses' language for my heart is racing and I have felt a few heart palpitations. Good afternoon. And wow, we've made it. It sure has been a long journey. I want to start off today by saying just how proud and fortunate I am to be participating in this pinning ceremony with this group of graduates, my friends who are about to head out into the world as nurses. I can remember that very first orientation day when most of us had met for the very first time. We were a little scared and intimidated. Little did we know how much this program was going to change our lives. When you first enter nursing school, the upperclassmen tell you that no one's going to understand what you're going through unless they've been through it themselves. For the most part, this is true. No one can truly understand how nursing school changes your mind to think critically unless you've been there. No one else will be able to continue eating while you're discussing the bowel patterns of your new patient unless they've been there. And no one else is going to get really excited when you tell them about the coolest code you saw today unless they've been there. But what they don't tell you is that your family does understand. They understand that we've made a choice to do one of the most important jobs that there is. They understand that we are compassionate, caring, giving, self-sacrificing. They understand just what it takes to be a great nurse because they understand us. They know us, and they love us for these qualities. I can remember on that first day of orientation leaving the CSM bookstore carrying a stack of textbooks that I could barely see over. I passed Linda Goodman in the hall. She looked at me and kind of snickered with my stack of books and said, "Well, tell your family and friends you'll see them again in about 2 years." And she was right, because here you all are, here to help us celebrate on this very special day. And right now, I'd like all of my classmates, all of you, to take this time to turn around in your seats, find your family, find your loved ones, turn around, find everybody you love, say, "Hi, we're back, we've missed you." We are back. And I want to say on behalf of all of my classmates that we know we did not get to this moment without the support and understanding of our families. You have sacrificed so much to get us here. You've gone without us at family dinners, taken care of the special events without our help, and most importantly, you have sacrificed your time with us, our date nights. You've given up your time so that we could barricade ourselves away with our faces in a book for months at a time. And for this, we thank you from the bottom of our hearts. We would also like to thank the CSM nursing program staff, all of our professors, all of our clinical instructors, all of our advisors. We would not have made it through without your encouragement and patience. And without you, we would not be entering this world as the next wave of great nurses. To all my classmates, we're all gathering together today in this room for what will probably be the very last time. Maybe be the last time some of us see each other. We've been through so much together. As somebody said before, we've laughed and we've cried together. And once again, we laughed and we cried together. And as the semesters have gone by and the class has grown smaller, we've become closer. We've become there for each other. We've become like a family, sharing in the experience of this emotional roller coaster we call nursing school. I had heard before petitioning for this program how competitive it was, and that every day we would be pushed to the point that we might want to quit. It all started that first day of orientation when we were given our syllabus and realized we had 18 chapters to read and 6 assignments due that were going to be due the first day of class, which was 6 days away. But everyone pulled together, and we made it through the thousands of pages of reading, the early morning and late night clinicals, exam after exam. Now we're at the end. And I'm proud to say that there was no competition, and that everybody stuck together. We all pushed each other and encouraged one another when we were down, or maybe when we had a meltdown. So as happy as I am today to be graduating, I'm a little sad to be saying so long to some of you. Thank you for everything. Tomorrow we will have graduated, and this will all be a memory. It will be time for us to move on into the world and to continue to touch and affect thousands of lives. We will be true to what we believe, and we will certainly be the strongest wave of new nurses to have graduated in recent time. Our theme for this ceremony, a quote from Adlai Stevens, "Don't forget when you leave why you came," could not be more appropriate as I have come to know you all. You are all here for the right reason. You are all filled with compassion and eager to step up and step forward to be the best nurses that you can be. I'm proud to have known you all. As I conclude today, I'd like to leave you with a quote from another author, the author of Winnie the Pooh, A.A. Milne, who said, "Promise me you'll always remember. You're braver than you believe, you're stronger than you seem, and you're smarter than you think." Thank you.
Thank you, Fritz. It's my pleasure to introduce Dr. Karen Russell, who will give us our closing remarks. And Dr. Russell and I are co-instructors for the last semester that these students have, and it's just a joy, let me tell you. Dr. Russell?
It is the joy. Thank you. Let me get my little prop out of here. Okay. All right. So, and don't forget when you leave why you came. You had a great theme this year for people to expand on. And so I ask you this question: why did you come? Why did you choose to be a nurse? When you go out and search the literature, you'll find that interviews and polls have yielded numerous responses to that question. The response most often given by nurses is that they choose a career in nursing because they love to help people and take care of others. Many respond that they have always wanted to be a nurse for as far back as they can remember. Some choose nursing because there's a constant excitement there and there are always challenges. Every day is different. It is never boring. Many have family members who are nurses, and they choose to follow in their footsteps. Another popular reason given is the endless job opportunities available in nursing. Nurses today have a vast selection of roles from which to choose. Our practice environment now extends far beyond the four walls of a hospital. Just to name a few, you could choose to be a home health nurse, a summer camp nurse, a forensic nurse, legal nurse consultant, employee health nurse, travel nurse, public health nurse, school nurse, flight or transport nurse, parish nurse, hospital nurse, informatics nurse, infection control nurse, military nurse, nurse researcher, oncology nurse, correctional facility nurse, case management nurse, and my favorite of all, a cruise ship nurse. I cannot believe that I let that one get by. I just can't believe it. I will regret that forever. For some individuals, the choice to pursue a career in nursing follows a life-changing event, such as an auto accident, the death of a loved one, or a personal battle with a life-threatening illness such as cancer. It is through these prolonged and in-depth interactions with nurses that individuals come to understand the commitment and dedication of a nurse and the wonderful work that they do for those in need. I have a colleague who chose to enter nursing after a motor vehicle accident, which resulted in the amputation of one of her legs. Following her accident, this individual spent months in the hospital, followed by a very extended stay at a rehab center. And it was during that time that she came to know and love many of the nurses involved in her care, and she decided that nursing would be a rewarding career for her and an opportunity for her to give back to others. For me personally, it was a combination of factors. First of all, I can honestly say that I'm one of those people who have wanted to be a nurse since I ever remember. This was undoubtedly influenced by the fact that my mom was a nurse's aide for 30 years, and I saw that she loved her job and enjoyed all of her patients that she took care of, as well as the wonderful team of nurses and techs that she worked with. My mom just celebrated her 80th birthday, and at her birthday party, several of the women that she used to work with were there. And these women are all now in their 70s, 80s, and a couple of them in their 90s. And they have remained close friends over all the years, and they still reminisce about their days working together at the hospital. In addition to my mom, my decision to be a nurse was also influenced by the death of my dad. I was working as a nursing tech and enrolled in a practical nursing program at the time of my father's death. Throughout the course of his terminal illness, I came to know and admire many of the wonderful nurses who took care of him, and I really recognize them for their genuine compassion and love for him. On a much lighter note, I would have to say that television played a part in my decision as well. My mom used to watch the soap opera General Hospital every weekday afternoon on Channel 7 on the black and white television with no remote control. I think we got 4 channels, 4, 5, 7, and 9. Anyway, General Hospital began airing in April of 1963. The influence of media, even back then. I love to watch head nurse Jessie Brewer as she managed her unit. See, they know who I'm talking about. As she managed her unit's activities from the 7th floor nurses station. And she always wore a white uniform, white hose, white shoes, her nurse's cap with a black stripe on it, and a navy blue sweater. She was the perfect nurse. My best friend Peggy and I would pretend that my dad's workbench was the 7th floor nurses station. So we had lots of charts that we made up on patients, and we had a great time with that. That was our station. And my dad even took an old black wall telephone that didn't work anymore, and he mounted it to one of the posts in our basement, and that was our phone where we could call and get orders and such. So we had it all set up. And Peggy and I managed the care of a lot of patients in that basement. And I have to share with you that a little-known talent that I developed during that time was the art of making nurses' caps. Kelly talked about how we don't have those anymore, but I made a lot of them on my dad's workbench over the years. And there's my little Jessie Brewer cap right there with her black stripe. Unfortunately, not too many years after I became a real nurse, they stopped wearing caps, and this talent is now obsolete. I don't need that anymore. So in conclusion, I would like to say congratulations to each of you. Yesterday you were a CSM student. Today you are a CSM graduate. Soon you will be licensed as a registered nurse. You will then be entering the most ethical and honest profession in America. As you move through your journey, through your nursing career, I hope that you stop from time to time and remember why you came. Also, please remember that your educational journey is not over. If you haven't already done so, we expect that each of you will soon be enrolling in a bachelor's program and then on to a master's program and even a doctoral program. And then you can return to CSM and teach the next generation of nurses. Congratulations, everybody. Good luck.
Thank you, Dr. Russell. Mine had a blue stripe. I had a blue stripe. I would like to ask you all if you would please stand if you're able while our graduates recess. And by the way, they chose this song. Oh yeah, and I need to tell you also that we have refreshments upstairs on the mezzanine. If you cannot take the stairs, there's an elevator down the hallway to the right.
Come along.
coming.